One of the important feature of Harappan civilization was the town planning or the urban planning that we see in the sites of Harappan civilization or Harappan cities. So, let us look into the feature town planning. And the topic today we are going to discuss is town planning. Why did Harappan town planning become such an important topic of discussion for all the historians? Well, when we see the town planning of Harappan cities or Harappan sites, we see that even in 18th century, many Asian cities did not have the kind of advanced town planning system which was introduced in Harappan sites. So, all these sites had specific characteristics as far as town planning is concerned, and we are going to look into these characteristics one by one. So, when we discuss the feature, we have to remember that as a material for building the monuments or whatever we have found, the archaeological sites that we have found, in these sites for material, as a material, Harappan people used wood along with bricks. Now, bricks were either dried bricks, which are sun baked bricks. Along with that, they used high quality burnt bricks. Houses were made of both dried bricks and burnt bricks, but mostly in places where there were chances of water leakage, burnt brick was used. The contamination of water was stopped by using burnt bricks. So, if you see, sewage system or drainage system of Harappa had burnt bricks. The system was built of burnt brick. Along with that, if we look into the feature, the town were basically made in rectangular shape. Most of the towns have been found in rectangular shape. This town was itself divided into two separate parts. First was citadel. Division of town is one of the most important feature, division of town, and in that feature you have first is of course citadel or the fort, which was made on elevated ground, on a mound, okay, and after creating that mound, on top of that a podium was constructed. So, if I draw, it will look like a mound on which a podium is constructed and then a fort is raised, and this is called citadel. So, this was citadel, okay. So, citadel was always on the west side of the town. On the western direction we had citadel. Now, this citadel was further surrounded by wall of bricks. The wall of bricks separated the citadel from the lower town. So, citadel, and then on the east we had lower town. Lower town was in east. So, if I draw it, this is the wall which separates the citadel. The wall surrounds the citadel, and then on the eastern side we have the lower town, the larger lower town. The larger lower town was always larger than this small citadel, which was first constructed on the mound, and then there was this podium, and finally the fort. This is called citadel, and this, the other section is called large town on the eastern side. The citadel and the large town was further surrounded by wall of dried brick. This was a very important feature of most of the towns of Mohenjo-daro or Harappa or the Indus Valley sites, basically like Kalibangan, Lothal, Rupar, Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, which are considered as few of the important cities of Indus Valley civilization. They had this kind of town planning. Now, let us go further. Along with this division of town into citadel and lower town, we also see the use of drainage system. Every house in Indus Valley Civilization were connected to outlet or drainage system. These small drains were actually connected to the house, which carried the waste water, and then these small drains were connected to the large network of drain running parallel to the street. The drains were made of burnt brick. Also, they were underground drain because they were covered by stone slab. So, these stone slabs protected the drain, and we can say that Indus Valley Civilization was one of the first civilization in the world which actually developed underground drainage system. These drains were further regularly maintained because they were covered by stone slab. The stone slab could be removed and the drains were then cleared on regular basis. The drainage system is one of the unique feature of Harappan Valley or Indus Valley Civilization. So, this is the third point, and then if we go further, the fourth point is of course the streets of Indus Valley. As far as streets are concerned, streets were further divided into large streets, lanes and sublane. So, when we study the street in Harappan sites, we have found streets of 9 feet width to 34 feet width. So, width varies from 9 feet to 34 feet. The width, the sublane is of 9 feet, and then it increases to lane, which could be somewhere around 10 feet to 11 feet, and then the main roads were of 34 feet. Further, these streets, as I told you, were connected with the drainage system. So, drains ran parallelly to these streets. These drains were underground drain which were covered by stone slab. The streets also had street lamp to keep the streets illuminated during evening, and the streets also, we also find along with street a proper water supply channel. So, on one side drainage ran parallelly to the street, along with that we found water supply channel, network of water supply channel. So, streets were not just running as an isolated tract of land, they also were used to divide the whole area, the town, into zones or blocks. In most of the sites we see that streets ran at right angle, they cut each other at right angle, they ran perpendicularly. So, they created a wide network of of road, and that created block within the large town. So, it also had water supply system, it also had drainage system which ran parallelly to the street, and these streets were basically network of lanes that divided the town into block. So, these streets were very important as far as the town planning is concerned. Along with the streets, we have also come across few public buildings. So, when we talk about public buildings, two most important public buildings in Indus Valley Civilization is, of course, the Great Bath. It has been discovered in Mohenjo-daro. This Great Bath is actually a water tank with series of stairs. It is made of burnt brick. It has series of bathroom on the northern side. So, it could have ceremonial value in the Indus Valley Civilization, but it is one of the major public building of Indus Valley Civilization, which has been discovered in Mohenjo-daro. And along with that, we have granaries. Now, these granaries are very huge. We have found granary in Harappa, we have found granary in Mohenjo-daro, but the granary of Harappa is much large in size than that of Mohenjo-daro. The dimension of granary is somewhere around 136 feet into 126 feet. So, it makes the granary is one of the largest public buildings that has been discovered in Harappa. With these granaries, we have found 2 tenement rooms which may have been occupied by slaves or people who worked in the granaries. So, these are the 2 most important public buildings that we have found in Harappan site. Along with that, we have also found a pillared hall. Now, we do not know what was the use of the pillar hall, whether it was a public library or whether it was a court, but it must have been a public building because we have found these public building in the area used for public use or used for public activity. So, when we look into the house, even in Indus Valley Civilization, when we are talking about town planning, the houses, the size of houses and the architecture of houses was also very vivid. So, let us talk about the houses. Now, when we talk about house, in Indus Valley Civilization, we found huge houses having houses having many rooms, and with that we have also found houses with single room. In fact, these dwelling houses suggest that in Harappan civilization, there was some social stratification among people. Maybe the stratification was based, associated with the wealth of the people. The stratification was based on the monetary or financial condition of the people. That is why we have houses having many rooms, which was equivalent to a bungalow. Then we also had houses with single room and no window at all. Maybe those houses were occupied by slave, but the general structure of the house was that there was a central courtyard and the room was surrounded across the the rooms of the house surrounded the courtyard. So, that was the general architecture of the house. Every house had a well and of course, a washing room. The washing room was connected to a water outlet which took the waste to the sub drain, and then that sub drain further took the waste to the main drainage system which was connected with the street. So, this is all about the town planning of Indus Valley Civilization.